Hey guys, hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So one time I was on a live and a few people asked me what is the secret to being married after I mentioned that I had been with my husband for about almost 8 years. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video on this topic and kind of talk about it. This is speaking from like my experience, over the years, okay? One of the first things I realized is that when you meet the right person, it makes marriage doable. You know what I mean? Before I was somebody who never wanted to get married. And then I met my husband and everything changed because he just treated me so well and he made me feel so happy and relaxed and all this stuff. I was being myself around him that over time I was like, you know what? Why not? Like when he asked, I was like, okay, yeah, why not? So the secret to marriage. I want to say that there's really no secret. It does require some work, but I feel like with the right person, it's not as bad. When it's with the wrong person, it could take a toll on you, okay? So this one of the things that I've realized with marriage is that you have to communicate well. A lot of people say this. Yes, you have to communicate about everything, the good, the bad, because at the end of the day, the goal is for the long term. The goal is for the two of you to really, grow old together someday and things like that, You don't want to be like having like divorce in the back of your mind. I mean, if it comes to it, I'm not judging anybody that's divorced, but it's something that you don't really want. You want to see this as a long term. So you definitely want to be really picking that person that you see yourself with, just being silly with for the long run, laughing with for the long run, and really holding it through thick and thin. So you have to communicate about everything, communicating about like, I'm going out, I'll be back like at this time, blah, 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 to communicating about issues that you feel like you're having. Like when I had to have a conversation with my husband and let him know like, hey, I'm going through perimenopause and I'm having a hard time and a rough time and things like that. And so this affects some of my behaviors and blah, blah, blah. To him, saying, I'm concerned about the future and blah, blah, blah. So you have good conversations, bad conversations that are difficult, but at the end of the day, you have them, So you have to keep doing that and it helps to keep it going. The other thing that I realized is that marriage is give and take and compromise. I watched a TikTok where this lady was saying that people are always like, what is the secret to marriage? But when you tell them like this, they don't really want to hear it. They're not ready to have that conversation. So for example, she said, sometimes she takes out the garbage. There's people that would go on her TikTok and tell her, girl, how dare you take the garbage? That's the man's job. He's supposed to be out there, lifting the stuff and pulling all the heavy trash cans and all that. What are you doing? But at the end of the day, one of the things I realized is the give and take, because you do what you can, both of you, to try to help each other out. So my husband, for example, he doesn't enjoy dishes. I love doing dishes, but he enjoys doing laundry and taking the laundry and putting things away sometimes. That's something that he does. So that's something that we work with each other on. He's not the best. He's not a good cook. I'm a good cook, so I usually cook, but I don't like cleaning the tub. And he doesn't mind doing that. So at the end of the day, it's a partnership. It's working together for the greater goal, especially when you have kids. You guys have to make things happen. So sometimes he'll be like, you know what, I'm going to take the kid to go play soccer with him. And I'm like, let me get my free time so I can maybe fold some clothes while you're doing that. It's a partnership. It's back and forth. One person cannot take everything on, because in the end, they're going to be resentful. Growing up, I remember seeing a lot of marriages where, women were taking almost all the care when it came to the home. And I noticed that a lot of men started feeling like, a lot of women started being really stressed, and a lot of them were not happy. So over time, somebody becomes just really resentful because, the other person is not helping as much. So it's a partnership, it's teamwork, whatever you can take on to try to help each other to make things, like my husband is gone most of the day, like Monday through Sunday. So most of the time I'm the one at home, I'm doing the pickups, doing the school run, sometimes doctor's appointments and all that stuff. But in the end, when he's off on the weekend, he's like, you know what, anything that needs fixing, he's taking that on and he's fixing stuff. And if the closet breaks or I'm complaining the light bulb is not working, he's on it. I don't have to change the light bulbs and stuff like that because he's got it. So every other thing that I'm not taking on, he's taking on. So it's just been really nice to do that. That's one of the things that I'm realizing is just constantly you giving and take, and it's for the greater goal. And so if you're somebody who's not ready to really be like sacrificing and doing give and take, then marriage is not for you, because there's times that you literally are doing that and stuff. The other thing I realized that over the years, being married, it's also fun to have somebody that you always have something to do with, like whether it's going out, traveling and things like that. You got your fun partner, Now you do have to have, separate things, activities that you enjoy on your own. And that gets me to the next point that I was going to say, that you have to have your own thing going too as well. You cannot rely and have your whole identity on a marriage, because what happens is that later on, let's say things don't work and things like that, you're going to find yourself really miserable and down, like, oh, if the partner was here, I would do this and I would do that. So you have to figure that out. You have to figure out how to do things that are really fun for yourself and have your identity as well. And just really figure out a way to do alone time things, you know. So sometimes my husband goes to play with his friends, goes to play soccer. I'm over here doing my YouTube videos. Sometimes, you know, I'm out walking around the shopping malls because he doesn't enjoy being at the mall. And he's out there, you know, going to go just do something for himself. And they say, hey, you know, I'll be back whatever time, blah, 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 blah. Go out and enjoy. You know, I know some people get really clingy to the point where, you know, they want to be everywhere that their partner is. But I feel like it's really, really important to have hobbies, to find things that you do for yourself. Because over in the long run, even if the person is not there, you can kind of navigate things. And also, you know, you have to be able to know everything. Like there's people that I've seen where they didn't know how to write like a check. Not that anybody writes checks anymore because their partner always did it. So there's things that you kind of have to also learn to do yourself in case the partner is not there, because things happen in life, you know. So you have to be able to take on whatever your partner was doing in a way if it comes to that. So I'm realizing that. The next thing that I realized is that you have to find ways of trying to keep things exciting and things going, because once you add kids and you had work and all that stuff, it can really take a toll on the marriage. I'm saying like the first couple of years, like when my kid was younger, it was all about the kid. It still is about the kid, but we had to figure out a way to try to keep ourselves from just completely just, you know, distancing ourselves, you know. We had to have conversations like, what can we do, you know, to spend time together, you know, as our son is growing and things like that. So you have to figure out a system of how to maybe have date nights, like they say, go places to do fun things. It's tough. I understand with, you know, because you don't want to bother people to watch your kids and all that stuff. But you have to figure out a system. Sometimes maybe it's just, you know, going out to eat, you know, for maybe an hour or two and then coming back and having like his grandma watch him. But you have to figure out a way to keep things exciting, to get dressed up and go places and do things. Or sometimes you could just have a movie night, you know. Put a really good movie. We both love scary movies. Sometimes we put scary movies and watch that. So I'm realizing every time you have to figure out a way to keep things going, the fire's going. But I want to say that once you meet the person that you actually want and somebody you really like, that becomes very easy, because you could literally be watching a movie at home and you're fine. You're having a good time and laughing and all that. You have to be able to be playful with each other and joke around and things like that, because life can get in the way of that. So over the years, that's one of the things I've realized, that it's a constant. It's a constant of giving and take, you know. I've also realized, like, I pray a lot. I pray a lot for our relationship. I pray a lot for my husband all the time. And he also does, you know, the same, where he got my back, you know. I'm not saying we're religious or anything like that, but we always make sure to think of each other. So little things really do count, you know. My husband goes above and beyond to think of me. He might be in the store and he's like, oh, I'm at the store, I'm getting, you know, this. I know you love those little candy things or whatever. I'm going to get you one. Or sometimes I see a shirt or I see something and I'm like, you know what? I saw that one shirt that you were talking about that you really like, you know. I know where it is. I'm going to go grab it, blah, blah, blah. So it's back and forth, being thoughtful and trying to help each other out. So over the years, I've just noticed that it's a lot of give and take and a lot of doing and stuff like that, to try to keep everything, you know, just smooth and running. Because if one person starts taking on everything, it could start really affecting the other person to the point where they start becoming resentful. And before you know it, they're like, you know what, this is not working for me. Another thing is just, it's wonderful to think that, you know, you're going to grow old with somebody and they've seen you through some tough times as well, you know. I've had my moments, you know, there's things that I've just revealed to my husband about myself, and he's seen me go through it. And I remember one time we were having this conversation, I was with family members and he was there, and something came up where I got really emotional, and all he did was just grab my hand and he held it, because he already knows that when people start talking about certain things, I'm a very emotional person. So he already reached out and put the hand there, and he was ready to hold on and just, you know, kind of support me and comfort me in that way, because he knew. So over time, you just learn this person and you start knowing their habits. And, you know, like my husband, when I know he's getting anxious, I could feel it. And so I try everything to try to calm him down, because I know things that make him really anxious, you know. and things like that. So over time, you just start learning the person. And so overall, I can say that the secret really to this whole marriage thing is give and take, compromise, trying to find ways to keep things exciting and going, getting dressed up, sometimes going on date nights, or sometimes just having movie nights at home and just spending quality time together. It's realizing that things are not always going to be super up. There's times like the things are down, but the beautiful thing is you're trying to make this thing work for the long run. You're trying to be like, you know what, this is the person I want to grow old with. So we have to do whatever it takes each single day. You make a choice every single day to try to do everything that you can to keep it going. Now there's times that, you get frustrated with each other. Sometimes, you get into our little arguments here and there, but you don't get that mad to the point where you're just like, I'm packing my bags, I'm leaving, which used to be my situation way before I got married. I was always like packing my bags, I'm ready to go. With him, I get cool off and I say, okay, I'm mad, and he's like, let's go eat, let's forget about it, because you have to literally pick battles every day. Not that you're having a lot of them if you're with the right person, but you just pick battles. You're like, okay, we're not going to argue about that, let's just go eat and forget about it, because each day this is going to lead for the long run, so that's what I'm realizing. So sometimes, people go into marriage thinking that everything is going to be so perfect. It's what they see on social media, and that's not it, guys. It requires work. It requires putting an effort, because some days both of you are exhausted. Both of you have worked, or, both of you are just exhausted, and you're like, man, today I don't have anything to give. And sometimes it's just like realizing that and saying, you know what, my partner needs a break today. Let me just not be just over the top, like wanting everything, and then there's times that you're like, you know what, I need to spend time with you. I need to, we need to communicate. We need to have a little meeting and all that and see how things are going. So that's what I've noticed, like, over time. It's just this, you make a choice every day, and it's for the long run. So those are some of the things I'm realizing. And like, some people just go into it thinking that it's all rainbows, like they say, in butterflies every single day. And when the reality hits that it's not that, which is one thing that I'm so glad that I never thought of. I saw the marriage that required work. But once again, if it was the wrong person, the work is harder. But when it's not, the person makes it so much easier, and you don't feel like overwhelmed and beat up and all that. But yeah, those are the things that I can really say about the secret to this marriage thing. I hope you guys, what are some tips for you guys that are married out there? What are some tips that you have that definitely help to keep things going? And what are some things that you guys have learned about marriage so far? All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.